Hey guys, it's Kristen here. So obviously this is Book Wars Pod. This is actually episode 72. If you didn't get a chance to listen to episode 71, which dropped last week, that is the first half of this episode. So this is a special two-parter. We had Darth Internus, that's Tom from Del Rey, on to talk to us for the wrap of Canto Bight. So we had a really wonderful conversation with him, and it went about 2 episodes length. So we split it up. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to the first half, go ahead and do that. And then this is a continuation of it. We are starting Thrawn Alliances next week through chapter 6 or 9 or something. Check the Twitter. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm sorry. Kate's gonna kill me. All right, talk to you guys soon.
Anyway, you were gonna lead us into the next set of things.
Oh, I was just going to ask. We have like another set of like some questions that we had for you, Tom, and then some social media questions as well that I was going to dive into.
Sure.
And my first one is one that's about Star Wars, but also about working at Del Rey more generally. And how is working on stuff that's written for an IP different from working on original stuff? Because if I'm not mistaken, I know you work on Warcraft as well as Star Wars, right?
I work on pretty much all the licenses that we work on. So I work on Warcraft. I work on Stranger Things. We're doing stuff with Hasbro and Magic the Gathering now. I work on Star Wars. But then I do a few limited things with our original fiction. I used to do a lot more of that, but as careers and things have evolved, and the stuff that I've been most passionate about, at least right now, is working on IP stuff. So I work on some originals things, and I still read a lot of the originals work that we do, and kind of give side comments to the other editors when they want extra reads. But yeah, the most of the stuff that I do is on IP.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Awesome. And like in your experience, what's the experience like? How's it different working on original stuff versus IP?
It's really just so the difference is sort of twofold. First of all, you're obviously working kind of in an established world, so you're working in a place that has its own rules, has its own style, has its own sort of voices, its own perspectives, characteristics, everything from like, do we use metric system or do we use, a different system to, how do we capitalize certain things to, all those like nitty gritty things, all the way to like the bigger, more macro kind of themes of the individual worlds. Whereas in original stuff, it's you and just the author, and that author is kind of in charge entirely of their world and of fleshing it out and having it whatever extraneous world building they need to have to support their storytelling. So there's that. But really the meat of the difference between the two is just kind of how many people are involved. When it's just me and an originals author, it's just me and the author. Me as the editor, them as the author, probably a literary agent is involved or something like that. But that's really it. It's 2 or 3 people kind of crafting this story, honing it, putting it together, and off into the world it goes. When you're working with IP, you're working with an author. There's going to be 1, 2, potentially 3 editors, depending on how the group that you're working with is organized. There'll be support people who work directly for the property that are everything from either experts on this particular style of that license, or they're the lore experts, or they are people who have views of other ancillary products, so they can help you form connections or avoid weird crashes or contradictions. And so it just is about like, it's a more complex management puzzle in the second one, because you're distilling the contributions of many different people from many different disciplines that then all comes back to the same single story that is being anchored by and sort of driven by the author. But you're just kind of corralling a whole bunch of stuff. So it's I mean, there are kind of some very obvious differences there, but really at the end of the day, you're still just doing storytelling, and you're trying to tell really good stories in book form. The fact that there might be 10 or 15 people involved versus 2 or 3 is just, it's a math and logistics problem.
Yeah.
That's actually usually pretty easy to solve because most of the people, and it's been my experience across the board in working with the licenses and the people that I do, everyone is like super into it and working in lockstep, and everyone knows exactly the part of the process that they're responsible for helping to push along. So everyone's just like, all right, here we go. And it, it works out really well. And, I love the licenses. I love Star Wars, obviously. I love all these, cool things that I get to be a part of. But I sort of love it all, the whole process of it pretty equally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can see how that's like having your hand in that sort of like project management is also like, it sounds like a really fun challenge in addition to just, sitting there and reading the thing. Because I know that at least when I was working for publishers, like sitting there and reading the thing was fun, but also it was just kind of like, it's kind of more of a solitary endeavor, so that you get to work with other people is kind of nice, and it's unique, I feel like, in publishing.
Now I'm just like imagining project managing at my job, which is like, all right, so this person needs to write the copy, and then we need the web developers to work on this stuff, and that all needs to happen by Thursday. Whereas like at Del Rey, I'm imagining a world where it's like, all right, so we need the Wookiee experts to weigh in by Thursday. We need some Starship hyperdrive physics to slot into chapter 12. Like, it's just, that's what I'm picturing in my head.
Incredible.
It's not that far off from being correct. It's in the ballpark.
I love it.
It's in the ballpark.
Love it.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that we've kind of consolidated a lot of the expertise, so we don't usually have to go to that many different people to get our Wookiee expertise and stuff about starship designations, and somebody write 10 new lines of Huttese dialogue or something. We don't have to go to that many different people to get all that.
Good to know.
That's
Good
just
to know.
awesome.
Yeah.
So our next question for you is, obviously there's so much going on in Star Wars right now, at least in terms of upcoming projects across media. Obviously, you've got a bunch of books coming out, which we are extremely excited for. TV stuff, film stuff. Obviously, 9 is coming next year. So, as far as you can tell us, in terms of things that are in development that you may or may not know about, what are you most excited for in Star Wars, or what are you most excited about?
Yeah.
I love asking this question.
Sticking to things that are announced. We're not trying to get you in trouble.
Yes.
Man, this is like getting asked to choose choose a favorite child, or like, I guess because I don't have kids, we'll just say choose a favorite cat intern.
Oh my god.
Who actually, both of them have just like snuck up on me and are just like sitting around and near me, watching me do this.
Yay.
Anyway, official interns of the pod. I'm just saying it right now.
Yeah.
Official Del Rey interns. I would say the thing that I'm most excited about right now is just how much different storytelling is going on and is going to be going on in Star Wars over the from what we see out there in the landscape over the next like year or so. You just look across the types of stories that are being told in the books from us and DPW and Marvel and IDW, and the types of stories people are telling. It's like Master Apprentice and Queen's Shadow and Thrawn and Alphabet Squadron, and they just Charles just finished up his amazing Vader run, and all of those stories are completely different, and there's never a thing where like, I feel like I read this book a month ago or 2 months ago, because every project comes out is completely different, has its own sense of voice, its own kind of genre it's playing with, its own perspective, let alone like jumping around to different parts of the galaxy. You think about, okay, we've got episode 9, we've also got the Mandalorian, and the Clone Wars is coming back. And again, it's just one of those things where there's just such a plurality of types of stories that are being told in Star Wars. And the fact that Star Wars seems to try to be pushing itself to not be telling the same story twice is awesome.
Totally.
And you're going to have your variety of hits and misses for your own personal preference, as much as how much one story might appeal to you versus another, because because you're getting so many different types of stories. But that's ultimately a good thing, because it's better than just feeling like you're reading the same book every 6 months, or watching the same TV show, or seeing the same, movie, or playing the same video, or whatever it is, whatever your cup of tea is. And so that's the thing that gets me the most excited, because it shows, and it's an example of the types of, creative choices that are being made, and the creative pushes that we're doing. And specific to the work that I get to do on the books, like, look back to every book we've published since A New Dawn in September 2014, which was published the day I started working at Del Rey.
Oh
So
my
we
God.
That's awesome.
Share an anniversary with A New Dawn. But
my God.
you just look at every single book we've published since then. We've never published the same book twice. And in fact, we've never published the same book twice, like, even within that whole span, let alone back to back. Every single book is completely different than all the other books, with the exception of, like, obviously the Aftermath trilogy. There's cohesion there because it's a trilogy.
Right.
But it's like, compare Last Shot to Twilight Company, but then compare Twilight Company to Inferno Squad, which are, similar books, because they're both, like, kind of more military sci-fi, but they couldn't be more different. And compare Tarkin to Last Shot, and Dark Disciple to Bloodline. And, I could go on and on and on. Or even Thrawn to Thrawn alliances. I mean, it's Tim and it's Tim Zahn and it's Thrawn, but, like, the approach of those books and the story they're telling, and the kind of feel for them, are completely different from each other. So that's the kind of thing that gets me the most excited. And I think you're gonna I can definitely speak to it for the book's perspective. You're gonna see that continue. That we want to be telling different stories, and we want to be trying different things with each new book that comes along. And so when you read Master and Apprentice, and then read Alphabet Squadron, and read Thrawn Treason next year, you're gonna see 3 very different approaches in 3 very different books.
Oh, I'm so
That's
excited.
exciting.
I know, I'm so excited.
I hope it's cool that I just, like, take that and I record it and I put it on my iPhone, and when people ask me why I have a podcast, I'm just gonna play that.
When people ask you why you have a podcast, when you're just feeling down about the world,
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm like, no shit though. Like, everything that you just said, Tom, I think resonates super deeply with the 3 of us knuckleheads who, we got into this because Trump got elected, and we wanted to not jump out a window, right? It's like, but since that, it's become so much more than that. We've loved just talking about the multimedia, different things that the Star Wars story group is doing, and the books are such a big part of that, and it's so cool that we get to follow that, and that this weird pipe dream that we had of being able to get together and talk about something that we love is, like, continuing to evolve and get somehow even better, even though it's already amazing. Like, that's such a cool thing.
Oh, fuck yeah. And I mean, I feel like none of us, and Tom, I'm including you in that, like, would be here if we didn't love both Star Wars and storytelling. So, I mean,
yeah.
It's just the best.
It's very accurate.
Yeah, I mean, we've said, I've said that, like, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a Star Wars fan, just because there's so much, and, like, there's so much for you to like and choose, like, what you consume, and it's just,
right.
it's exciting. It's a really exciting time.
It is. And, people are like, this thing isn't for me. And I'm like, it's fine, though, because there's a fucking smorgasbord of other stuff you can, like, just completely devour. And, like, it's so cool.
Yeah, like, there are some things that come out that I'm like, that looks awesome. Not my jam. I can skip this one. It's fine.
And
then I do, and it's okay.
And it is fine.
It's amazing that you guys think that's an option. Someone should tell the internet.
Also, I'm now in my head just not just comparing Tarkin and Last Shot, but specifically imagining James Luceno and Daniel Jose Older on a panel together, and I really hope that happens sometime in the future, because I need that odd couple to happen.
That sounds so fun.
Oh man, those guys would actually, I think, get along really, really well.
Oh, I have no doubt that they would, because I've heard nothing but wonderful things. Kate at least had the opportunity to talk to Daniel Jose Older a bit earlier this year, and I've heard nothing but great things about James Luceno. I just, knowing them alone from their writing and DJO's Twitter presence, they seem very different. And so like I feel like it would be like a very fun opposites attract situation.
Yeah, I don't know if I would even call them like exactly opposites. I mean, they're not, they're very different people, but no, they would be awesome together on a panel. They would be amazing.
Let's now I'm just really hoping that happens.
You spoke it into the universe.
I know.
Let's see what happens.
Exactly.
I think the next question is yours.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So one question I had just on a personal level, what is one character, it can be canon, it can be Legends, it can be from any of the Star Wars, anywhere in the Star Wars galaxy, that you have never had the opportunity to work on as an editor, that you would love to have that opportunity?
Oh boy. Man. I'm bad because I didn't really give this. I've never given this question a whole lot of thought. I mean, I really dug that we got to include a story about Aphra in From a Certain Point of View.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was a little bit later in the process than some of the other stories, and we were like, oh, you know what, we haven't gotten to 40 yet, because getting to 40 stories is a job. I was like, we haven't gotten to 40 yet, and we were like, well, who else, not just who else from an author standpoint, but like who else maybe from a character standpoint could we include here, that we might be able to figure out. And we were like, well, what's Dr. Aphra doing during A New Hope? Which obviously then immediately led us to like, let's ask Kieran if he's free so he could write a Dr. Aphra story for us. Yes. I think getting to work on a more lengthy Aphra story would be awesome. I think Aphra is amazing. I think the way that Aphra has been integrated not only as a complementary character in Star Wars to the big characters of Star Wars, because that's one of the tricks with creating an original character. They need to stand up and be their own character. But one of those things, at least at the start, because people sometimes like they require like that a character earn some form of legitimacy, is like you basically have to put them next to the big characters of Star Wars, and they have to be able to hold their own on the page. And Aphra, from page 1 of her comic, holds her own on sharing a page with Darth Vader, which is like, that's really hard to do. That is, really difficult for another character not to just be swallowed up by the presence of Darth Vader, literally and figuratively, so to be able to do that with Aphra is amazing, and the character was so brilliantly conceived of and put together. So I think I would choose Aphra, but I guess I haven't really given a whole lot of thought. We usually, or at least I don't really start to think about this stuff until we're starting to think about what kind of story we want to tell, which then leads to what kind of characters might we want to tell this story about. But we'll go with Aphra.
That's a great answer.
That is a fabulous answer. I mean, I feel like I and Bria, of course, our Tashi Station colleague, we would murder somebody for an Aphra book. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking something into the universe.
I know. That'd be so fun.
Hopefully we see that coming down the pipe one day.
I love it. So I know, Tom, you wanted to ask us if we had any questions we wanted answered. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, well, I just remember from the other episodes about the stories, I just remember you guys sort of talking about like, oh, I wonder if this was a thing and this was a thing. And so in case there were any like lingering like Easter eggy questions or questions about the structure or anything like that you wanted me to like try to confirm or answer or clarify.
Yeah.
JJM answered that, our question from last week, that yes, in fact, all of the chapter titles in the ride are gambling terms.
Yes, they
which
are.
We kind of assumed, but then spoke around it a little bit because none of us were 100% sure. But then
answered another question. Too.
I know, and then we were horrified because we were like, that means he's listening to the podcast, and no one should ever have to do that.
I was like, I'm so sorry, don't do that.
Yes. JJM is actually, I had never been in a casino ever before.
Oh, really?
Just never had occasion to be, and
Sure.
was never really all that interested in going. I've I played poker like in college, like with friends in the dorms and stuff, but never been to a casino or done any of that. And so it was during the production, like when this book was kind of in process and we're going along and reading through JJM's story. And JJM actually sent me the rules for Zinbiddle as he had created them. And I took a deck of cards. I think there's an old tweet someone can find from me from last year. I took a deck of regular playing cards and actually like played Zinbiddle by myself in my apartment to get my head around what the game was, so that when John is writing the scenes where they're playing, I know the parts of the rules and the parts of the game that need to be described in order for you to understand what's going on, even though you can't conceptualize and see the playing board. So I need to know, like, okay, what are the 3 elements that I would need to know about in order to understand this game, even though I'm not sitting at the table and can't see the cards moving? Because, lacking that visual element with something like a card game that's new it's a difficult thing. So I was doing that, and I kind of got this in my head. I was like, man, I'd really think I want to go to a casino and just like bet once, just to do it, just to say I did it. And so and my girlfriend and I were in Pittsburgh visiting some friends, and I went to grad school out there. So I was out there to visit school again. And, one night we had free night, and there's a casino in Pittsburgh, and we went to the casino. Never been to a casino. And we went and we found a $10 blackjack table. And we were like, because we didn't want to like put a coin in a slot machine and then walk out of there. We want to do something slightly more substantial, but we're not trying to like lose our rent money. We live in New York. We got to save that.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Yes.
So we're like, all right, what's the cheapest table thing we can find? And also it's like, we're not doing roulette. That's, we're going to,
Yeah. That's just
so
for it.
we both agreed. We're like, all right, let's do blackjack. So we found a blackjack table, sit down, put $10 down, because that's, it's a $10 table. It's the lowest table we could find. Get a bet. We get 18 or 19. 18 or 19. I'm going to say 19 because it makes it a better story, but it was either 18 or 19. Get 19, and I was like, okay, we're going to stay because this is good. You got to get 21. It was pretty good. I was like, all right, stay. Dealer flips over 21, takes my $10 in about 10 seconds. My girlfriend's like, what the heck just happened? And I was like, oh, yeah, we just lost our $10. And I was like, we're done. We're headed out of here. She's like, wait, just like that? I was like, yep, that's it. We're gone. JJM just lost us $10. It's not actually true. It's not his fault. But, so it's my one time in a casino because of working on this book. I lost $10 playing blackjack.
That's awesome.
Tom, I know you know this, but your job is fucking cool.
Trust me, I nobody knows that more than I do. Nobody knows that more than I do. But yes, those are all gambling terms. There was real rules for Zinbiddle that could actually be played. It's actually a really fun game. Actually, it's pretty good.
God. That makes me so happy.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I wish you could have seen my face when you were saying that Zinbiddle has rules that someone like thought out, because
oh yeah,
my brain exploded. Oh
yeah,
my god.
it's really smart. It's really well put together.
Oh my god.
Here's hoping that we can one day buy a Lucasfilm branded Canto Bight card game TM that is in Biddle that they, for legal reasons, can't
awesome.
name.
I would.
That
yeah. I would
that
pay
would be
money for
great.
that.
That would
pay
be
money for
great.
that.
We could plug
Yeah.
it.
But
We
the-
could say go get it at your local game shop, etc.,
Oh, totally.
etc.
I would do
And
that.
actually, Chris, we could build off this question with, I think, something else you had put in the note that I'd seen earlier that kind of touched on, but I didn't really get to, which was how much did the authors see of their work?
Oh, yeah.
Of each other's work. So when we kind of had the conversation and people were choosing what aliens they were going to have and learning about Canto Bight, that was all done as a group, because obviously I didn't want, one of the authors to say, oh, I want these 3 aliens, and someone else to say they wanted the same. And then, I wanted to, if that was going to happen, wanted to be able to kind of iron that out. Though if 2 people had chosen the same alien, because it was all one night on Canto Bight, we just would have figured out a way for that character to be in 2 places at once.
Right.
But so everyone knew what everyone else's story generally was. I shared all the outlines with everyone. But because of the way it was going to work from a writing standpoint, what I did was I had everyone turned in their manuscripts to me. I read all of them really quickly. And then when I sent back notes to each author in their manuscripts, I made notes of, here are the 3 or 4 things we want to add to your story to connect it to the other stories. So for like Saladin, there's a moment where Ang Lang and Kedpin are walking down the street and they try to go to a club. And Engling's like, oh, we're going to go to this club and have a drink, but they can't get in. The doors are locked. And he's like, that's weird. It must be a private party. And they go to another club.
Yeah.
Well, that's the club from Mira's story. And so we just, originally, the two of them just go to the bar they end up having the drink at. So we just added those two sentences into that little scene to make the connection. And same with like when Kedpin first arrives, he sees the card player Orisha that is, you know, Cal's kind of foil in the last story. And so it's just a matter of, I just wrote like, oh, hey, let's name drop this person. This is a character from John's story. And hey, Mira, let's mention this. This is going to be a character here. And so it was just a case of kind of doing it that way because it made the whole process easier. The only person that I really told, or not told, but sort of needed a little extra info was John, because I needed John to reintroduce Kedpin at the end of the story. So because I was like, oh, it'd be really great if we sort of circled the whole book back on itself and we saw Kedpin again. Particularly because Kedpin's at the start of his vacation. He's had this big first day and this big kind of character change. I wanted us to get another glimpse of him before the end of the book. And so that was kind of how all those pieces came together. There was actually a moment where Wody from John's story was supposed to be trapped in the nightclub during Mira Grant's story, and which is why he's not in like the first half of John's story, is that he was trapped at the party. But then because of his like weird, abilities and stuff, he somehow just escaped at one point. And we are going to have him interacting with the sisters as they were messing around with the liquor bottles, and he was going to start moving the labels around too and just start screwing everything up. But ultimately, this is actually a case where it just wasn't fitting into Mira's story, and it was going to break too much of her story to make it fit, so we just cut it. Because it's a cool moment, and it's a cool little Easter egg, but again, the goal is to tell a good story, not just create 10,000 words of Easter eggs.
Right,
so if something like that is gonna undermine the core of the story, it's got to go. So that's kind of why that went. And yes, Chris, I think it was you who had brought this up, but the unnamed villain of Mira Grant's story that Ubalia owes money to is the same person, Big Sir Ganna, who shows up in both. Who shows up in the other stories. He's kind of like the looming, big bad behind the scenes of most of the book.
I love it.
Yeah. Though that wasn't entirely intentional, but just it ultimately made sense for that to happen.
Yeah, definitely. It's so freaking cool.
I love it. I love that attention to detail and like intertwining them. Just makes me happy.
Oh no, definitely. Writing magic, but also editing magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had all of the stories. I usually edit just on my computer, but in this case, I actually had all the stories printed out and was like making notes on one and then going to the other, making the same note, so I could keep all my notes straight.
Oh god, that would have been me as well.
not screw it up.
Yes. Very, very important. And the product was flawless, so there you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked.
Yeah.
So good. We really did love this book.
Also, I should point out from your conversation about the ride, and I didn't really notice this until I heard your conversation, and I went back and read it this morning. The joke that the characters make at the beginning of the ride about Hosnian Prime hasn't blown up yet.
Oh, really?
So the joke is, I'm never going back there. And the joke is, well, it's good you're not because it's about to blow up. I know that the first couple lines of that story make it sound like it's already blown up because they're like, did you hear about what the First Order did? But I believe, technically, I don't actually know. Hosnian Prime has not actually gone boom yet, but it is about to.
Ooh.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So the joke is just that person is like, oh, I'm never going back there again. That place is awful.
I mean, it's funny either way. It's just a question of whether it's haha funny or oh no funny.
Yeah.
I guess it's both fun. It's both haha and oh no funny.
I know.
It's like all Alderaan jokes are haha funny and oh no funny.
God, yeah.
Yup.
Well, and I don't think like it necessarily mattered whether or not we knew whether or not it'd blown up, right? I mean, we talk
Right.
about timeline just constantly in this podcast because of me, and I ask questions about timeline and how old people are constantly on this podcast. But like, it's great to know the answer, right? Like, we always love to know the answer, but
Yeah.
it's also like, it is funny either way, right?
Totally.
And
And it works
sad.
either way. And, you know, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter either way.
All right. Shall we do social media
Yeah,
questions?
let's do some social media questions.
All right. We've got two. The first one's a fun one, so let's do that. So Diana, who is one of Tashi Station's fantastic Patreon patrons, and so therefore she has access to the Tashi Station Patreon Slack, where we talk about shenanigans pretty much nonstop.
Yeah, quick plug. If y'all give, I think it's just the $1 a
Yeah,
month
it's
level.
literally $1.
The Tashi Station Patreon Slack is a fantastic addition to anyone's day.
It's
So
true.
if you feel like interacting with any of your like your favorite Tashi Station hosts, sometimes including me, I'm very bad at checking it, but everybody else is
yeah.
better than me.
I've been bad lately because work is whatever it
Yeah.
is, but you know, anyway.
But it's worth the price of admission.
Even if,
Sorry.
if you don't want to interact, you just want to go look at pictures of people's animals. It's great.
There is a pets channel.
It's great for that as well.
Someone has a corgi.
Someone has a corgi. It's very important.
All right, sorry, Kate was gonna say actual things before I had to plug us.
All right, so Diana would like to know, and this is a question for all of us. So she says, imagine you're planning a heist of Canto Bight a la Ocean's 11. What would your roles in the job be? Which is such a hard question. I have to think really hard now.
I'll go first because I know who I would be.
Oh, God.
I would be the person who plans it and is completely unprepared for something to go wrong, and just like cannot get my mind around the fact that my plan did not work and like is not able to adapt.
Oh, I mean, if that's you, then I'm definitely the person who has been poking holes in your plans from day one, and you ignored me.
And I said, no, it'll work. Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, and day of, I'm like, who was right?
God, it's almost like this situation is played out.
I think I would be the fence. I would be the one with all the toys.
Yes.
Yes,
Just because
you would.
it may, and I love toys.
Totally.
And I love planning.
I think I would like to imagine that I could be the face, like the person who's got to like do the convincing, be the like, you know, be the one who makes the comment that gets you in. But I think in reality, I'd probably be better as like the getaway driver.
I love it.
I love that.
You can be anything you
both
put your
very
mind
important.
to.
Aw.
If you can dream it, you can do it in a casino robbery, Tom.
Or I could be the guy who like plans the multimedia PowerPoint that they need in order to set up the heist. You know, like in Ocean's 11 when Danny gets up to like give the whole speech about the Bellagio and they got the 3D graphics of like the vault and stuff. I could be the guy who puts that together.
Yeah.
I could do that. I could run the PowerPoint. I know when to press the button. Like I could be in sync with whoever's giving the good speech. I could do that.
I'm just
I love
glad
it.
none of us said the contortionist.
Oh wait, no, I need to change my answer. I'm sorry. I want to be the guy who in every scene is just inexplicably eating, because in every heist movie in the last 10 years, there's one person who's just like always eating food. So I'll be that guy.
That's
So real.
Yeah.
That's the jackpot roll right there.
No,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
totally true. No, I'd just be the straight man, and it'd be really, really sad for me personally, because it's funny because I'm not straight or a man. Anyway, moving right along. So the other question we got was from our lovely, lovely Tashi Station colleague, Amanda, who would like to know, Tom, what was the hardest Star Wars book secret that has now been revealed? She does not want to know anything that you can't talk about, that you have had to keep. That's our first question, so I'll let you do that first.
It's not hard keeping secrets. That's the thing.
Ooh, that might be the most controversial thing you've said on the podcast.
I think so.
It's just, it's the thing we get asked a lot. I know I hear authors get asked, we get asked it all the time when like I'm at conventions. People always come up to the booth and like, oh my gosh, like how do you guys keep secret about like, I don't know, you just don't tell anyone. Like it's just pretty easy not to keep a secret. Don't get full of yourself and just like go on Twitter and be like, yo, new Thrawn novel is going to get announced in like 3 weeks. Like, I don't know. I just never feel a compulsion to do any of that. So it's never hard, I guess. But to not, I don't want to cheat out on an answer. So I mean, obviously I think the announcement that there was going to be a new Thrawn novel on the heels of Thrawn also appearing in Rebels. I mean, that's probably like the biggest one that we've had to hold down. But it's again, it's not difficult because, I would not feel any personal enjoyment over ruining a secret, especially if it's a secret that it's not really mine to tell. And there's actually some fun in somebody asking me about a secret that I know and I can't tell them that. But in the back of my mind, I can be like, man, in 3 months, you're going to be like the happiest person in the world, so like when people are like, oh man, we'd really love like a Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan book. And it's like back in, last, whenever. And I'm just sitting there like, looking at an outline for Master and Apprentice being like, oh, you're going to be so happy soon. Like I am preemptively so happy for you. You don't even know yet, like how much joy is coming to your life. And I get to sort of revel in that. So that's why keeping secrets is actually kind of easy. And it's like, I'm never going to like just tell, if someone's like, tell me a Star Wars book secret. No, I'm just you can't make me. No.
Spider Mall was alive the whole time.
Oh my God.
Yo, I'm excited for Thrawn. I'm like over here, Family Feud, good answering you with that one, just because like that is. I fucking love Thrawn, as anyone who listens to this podcast may know.
Oh yeah, our group chat was a lot of all caps when Treason got announced.
Oh God, yes.
It was really an exciting time. Also, you guys like Thrawn, so don't make this just about me.
Oh no, that's no. To confirm, you were not the only person in the group chat doing all caps. I was also very much doing that.
I mean, you were super doing all caps when Alliances got announced, and you heard you were getting another Anakin story. So.
Oh yeah, that was a moment for me, no question.
See, Chris, I think you would probably be like in actual reality, if this was like part of your job, you would be better at keeping secrets like Tom is, because you like surprising people. You like knowing that something good is coming for them and they don't know about it.
I do. I am good at keeping secrets when I have to. I am not good at keeping secrets if I don't have to keep them.
I mean, I feel
like if it's just something that like, maybe somebody shouldn't know, but it's not like, it's not like I've explicitly like been like, don't tell anybody, or like it's my job or something. Then I'm like if like I'll bring it up. I'll find a way to bring it up. I don't know why I'm like that.
See, this is the thing though. I'm sure, Tom, you've had to probably sign like 10,000 NDAs. So
yes.
I mean, my continued employment is in and of itself an NDA.
Yeah. Like
there it is.
Were I in that position, I do feel like I would be better at keeping secrets.
Right.
Because it would be actually necessary.
Yes, it's true. I mean, you had to sit on a bunch of stuff when you were working on campaigns, I remember, because you had to do all this polling and all this other crazy stuff. But anywho.
Yeah. When it's your livelihood, somehow you find a way.
Well, and it's just like, it becomes so much less interesting. Probably not for Tom, but I'm just thinking for myself. I'm like, great, I work in HR doing systems work. I know how much money everyone makes, and I just don't care. It's just like a number. It's just not something. It's like, oh my God, what's it like to know what everybody makes? I'm like, it takes up like a lot of brain space that I wish I could have back for like other things, like I don't know, naps or not having anxiety or just anything.
Two very important priorities.
So you have that taking up your brain space. I have Fall Out Boy lyrics from high school still 10 years later.
Okay,
but anyway.
same though.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, the brain's got room for secrets and Fall Out Boy,
How,
so true.
Man, what a true. That was just like.
Totally.
So wise.
I know.
The only thing, to your point about like how secrets affect you, that does impact us is you don't, and I mean this is true with kind of anything. You do not get to be involved with certain parts of the conversation about the things you know secrets about.
Oh, sure.
So like, I don't get to be involved in a lot of speculation conversations anymore because I know the answer.
Right.
And I make a very fine point of never. I actually make a very fine point of pretty much never speculating about anything, even if I don't actually know the answer, because I assume someone thinks I know the answer
Yes.
and will then think that my attempt at speculation is weird, is like some coded, weird, like, you know, Fibonacci sequence type cipher of trying to spoil what the answer. So like I'm cognizant to like not be part of those conversations at all. So
Who on the
it
internet
does
would ever
change
think
it.
that?
I mean, so many people. And then, you know, once then the secret is revealed, it's like the conversations that are being had about it are usually like several weeks or months behind wherever I am with the thing, because like I've already processed through like those things, those stages, and it's like, all right, you guys are on like the third stage, like, all right, I'll check in again in like 3 weeks when they've gotten to this point, and somebody realizes like this thing, you know, and then, you know, the whole conversation turns like, I'll check in when that happens because that was a cool moment for me. I want to see other people experience it.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, that's not a bad thing. It's just, again, it's just about like kind of rewiring the way that you engage with certain conversations.
Right. Yeah, no. And I've kind of seen that happen for some people in real time. Like Pablo Hidalgo, that man can't say anything ever again. But like people turn it into, I don't even know.
He and Matt Martin coming up
Jesus.
again are, I want to say the two.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're the only two story group members on Twitter, but they're certainly the two most prominent, I think.
They use Twitter the most.
They
I
use
would
Twitter
say.
the most, yes. And they have ungodly amounts of patience.
I know, really. Those poor dudes. Like, y'all, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know me. I don't have any patience, so bless them.
Yeah, right.
Oh boy. All right. So our second question from Amanda and our last question from listeners. People were very well behaved and did not ask us any asshole questions. So Keeks, I'm sorry, but you don't get to talk about Spider Snoke.
I could have come up with really fun answers.
All right. Well, next time we have you on, we won't put the disclaimer on and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So Amanda's second question is, what's something about your job that people outside of publishing probably don't know?
Man, I mean, there's so much, so much, and it's mostly kind of publishing's own fault, because for whatever reason, publishing, and this is not even specific to my particular job or my company or anything. It's like an industry thing. Publishing is just kind of a secretive is not really exactly the right word, but it's just one of those industries that is got so many kind of weird traditions and frankly kind of arcane like ways that it works, that it is actually really hard to understand from the outside.
Yes.
But I think the thing that I come back to all the time, I think I've probably tweeted this like 3 or 4 times in the time that I've worked at Del Rey, is just that the amount of time that editors spend reading is way less than you think. Most people, when I tell them like, oh yeah, I'm a book editor, they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. You just like sit around all day and read. Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all. Like there are days and weeks that go by where I read nothing. I read absolutely nothing out, maybe an outline, but other than that, I read nothing. I like read book copy or like marketing copy.
You know what you read? I know what you read. Emails.
Yes. Actually, we kind of prefer. We have a lot of just like in-person conversations and meetings.
You know what? That's the best thing I've ever heard.
We're like all in the same. We're kind of all in the same corner of the floor. This little like nerd corner that like we've all just been like shoved into. Which happily we really like being this like corner of the floor. And so like if I just like get up and turn around to like Elizabeth, our creative director, and I like we sit. Our cubicles are like diagonal to each other, so I literally just spin my chair around 180 degrees and just like stare at her cube until she like realizes I'm looking at her, and she does vice versa to me, and we just chat it out, or I just like get up and walk to someone's office next to me.
I love it.
Now you're just making us jealous.
But so it's really just like editors spend so much time doing other things that are not reading, and that's probably like the easiest one. The other part is just like, why are books priced like this? Why are there a million different formats? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, why does this come out 9 months after this? How come this says this and looks like this? Why do book covers? It's like there's like a million things about publishing, but I think the biggest one is just there's so much time where I'm not reading. I think actually, where I'm just not reading anything.
Yeah.
Because I've got to write the jacket copy, like the copy that goes on the inside of the flap or the back of the book. I've got to like write that, and then I've got to have meetings about how with the marketing and publicity people, and then I've also got to do like some financial estimates so I can figure out how much money I can spend to do this, and then I've got to plan we got to plan 2 convention appearances, and I don't know, I've got to do 10 other things, and then I get to go read. But I think that's it. Because like it actually, Chris, being an editor is a lot about just project management, because it's a lot about just connecting all the other parts of publishing that go into making a book, which then means that you spend a lot of time coordinating other people or just like checking in with them, or because I'm the person who knows the most about the book, obviously,
right.
other than the author, but I'm the person in the office who knows about the book soup to nuts. If someone in marketing has a question about something character-wise, plot-wise, from a, would this reading line make sense? Someone in publicity has got a question, someone in, production with the design of the book, like whatever, I'm the person they have to come to ask, because I'm the person who's most likely going to have the answer or be able to get the answer quickest.
Right.
Which is why I tell people too, when people inevitably, and I did this when I was younger, and so this is not like a character fault of anyone, but just when people are like, oh, I would love to be an editor, I like reading a lot. First of all, do you? Because reading when you're an editor is way different than just like, if you have a book and you're just picking up a book and reading it, if you don't like that book, you could just stop and just never read that book again.
Yep.
You could stop on page 14 and be like, nah, I'm going to go like play video games.
Yep.
Or I'm going to go read this other book, or I'm going to, more likely, because let's be real, I'm going to go reread one of my favorite books like for the 3,000th time.
Yep.
But when you're a book editor, either you need to finish that book because you have to be able to speak cogently about why the book is not good.
Yes.
Or you have to finish that book because then you need to fix it.
Yep.
I'm sorry, fix is the wrong word. You need to like work with the author to figure out what's not working and make it better. Fix it makes it sound like it's just like you just take the author's stuff and like, make it right, which is not the way that author and editor relationships would work.
Yes.
But anyway, so people are like, oh, and I like reading. Well, you need to be able to do more than read, and the amount of and the kind of reading that you have to do is way different.
Yeah.
I've had to read some really bad stuff.
Oh yeah. I bet.
Not anything like on the IP side and the like Star Wars side, but just like submissions that we have gotten that I've had to read most of because I really needed to be able to explain to my colleagues like why I liked or didn't like it, and I have had to slog through some pretty rough reading material.
I've absolutely been there. When I was an intern, I used to have to. Yeah. I had to go through the slush instead of the agent and stuff, and so that was and then write readers reports, just explaining why it was bad because you knew it was gonna be bad, but I had to explain why, and so it's just like I was reading like a novel a day and just being like, no. So.
Luckily, we don't. We actually don't accept books in slush.
Right.
So I don't have to. I still have to go through them, but it's mostly just to write form letters and emails saying we don't accept books in slush.
Luckily, I can't read, so.
Kristen.
It's been a while since we've done that bit.
It's true. Well, you started reading the outlines, so.
I know.
Sometimes when I'm sitting in front of a manuscript that I just don't know what to do with, I sit there and I'm like, what if I can't read? Like, what if that's the problem? Like, what if I just can't read?
It's good to know that not just other people feel like that. So, especially people who work in words.
I have I have this sort of inferiority complex of just like, what if I'm a really bad editor? Like, what if I'm actually just bad at figuring out what makes a story work or not work? I know authors are always like, what if I'm just a terrible writer? But like, I feel that way as an editor all the time. Like every time I write a sentence of like, hey, this isn't working and here's a suggestion or here's like a way to think about a fix, I'm always just like, what if this is the dumbest thing they've ever heard?
I feel that.
See, I don't know if it's because I work with nonfiction as opposed to fiction or because I'm a bad person, but every time I'm editing something and it's really bad, I'm just like, this is just really bad, and I feel like I should rewrite this, but maybe I'm just full of myself.
Well, and you also, because you're working with an author, and you're oftentimes working with very accomplished authors, sort of just like writing a note, and I'm just like, am I gonna really tell this person how to write?
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna really tell like Claudia Gray
man.
or Tim Zahn that like this isn't this sentence isn't working? Like, am I really gonna do that? Like, what the heck is wrong with me?
Right.
So like I'm working with Greg Weisman right now on books for related to Magic the Gathering, and it really struck me the other day. I was like reading something, and there was a sentence that just was confusing and was just hard to parse, and so like I wrote, I was like, this is hard to parse, here's a suggestion, let's rearrange it like this is the important piece, let's do this and this and this. And I was just like, I'm really telling the guy who like created Gargoyles and is like Young Justice, like really telling him how to write a line of dialogue? Like, what is wrong with me? You have to get over that kind of stuff.
Right.
But like, it absolutely hits me all the time.
Right.
It probably didn't help that I was watching an episode of Young Justice 2, like while I was doing that. Like, so it's like probably not the best idea, but
Yeah, I can't say I work with authors of that kind of caliber, so I feel like I would also be that person.
You're that in the academic realm, Kate. In the academic.
You're working with people with like
science.
crazy expertise that you're just like, I'm sure that you probably feel that. Because I did some nonfiction editing when I was in grad school. And like this like PhD student asked me to edit an article for them, and they specifically wanted someone who like had no expertise to edit it because they wanted that. Can you understand this? Have I written this a way that people with a more layman approach could understand it without sacrificing the the scholarly aspects of it? And I was just like, sure, I'll start. But I would get the same thing. Like, this person is like light years smarter than I am.
Yeah.
And like, I will fix your commas, but I feel no confidence in anything else I'm doing other than fixing your commas.
Right. Yeah.
And even those are even those commas I'm not the best with.
Yes. I strongly relate to that. I was doing that today, and I was just like, I'm just gonna leave those for clarity. I don't know what grammar is. It's fine. That's only my job.
It just
The good thing is
right.
The good thing is you get to work in publishing with like an army of people in copy editing and proofreading who fix all those things for you and
Yes.
make it look like you actually know all the grammar rules. when
Yes.
I don't know all the grammar rules.
Yes.
I don't really know what semicolons are for. No idea.
That's the secret, Tom. No one knows. So
no
it's
one
fine.
knows.
I think on that incredibly relatable note, we can
Yeah.
profusely thank Tom for taking so much time out of his busy schedule to talk about work, essentially.
Yes.
Even though that
Yeah.
is Star Wars, and we all love that. But Tom, thank you so much for taking time. I know it's like even late for you guys. It's like 7:00, 7:45 here, and I'm like, God, you guys are just like burning that midnight Star Wars oil over there.
I mean, I'm just going to go back to reading Thrawn when we're done. So it's not like I have anything to do.
Amazing.
Oh, I love it.
But yes,
I mean,
thank you so much for being on. We
Yes.
so
This is my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
This is a lot of fun. I'm glad that you all really enjoyed Canobite because it was as much fun to put together as it sounds like you all had reading it. And I always like sitting around just talking about books, whether it's Star Wars or books, otherwise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, also one of the fun things always about, talking to you and other people in publishing is that like, just like your sheer enthusiasm for like what you do always comes through, and that's just always so fun to hear. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, before we wrap it up, we do have one more thing to thank Tom for, because Tom has very generously offered up 2 copies of Canto Bight for anybody who hasn't read it, for who wants to read it again, gift it. The world is your oyster if you win one of these 2 copies.
I was gonna say, if you entered,
if you entered, we've been talking for a few weeks. You have no excuse. We've been talking about this for like a month because we took us so long to get here. Anybody who has left us a review on iTunes was entered, and so now we're gonna give those away.
all right.
Kate,
All right, I'm doing my random number generator, so let's see. Who are you? Oh, you already won something, so I can't pick you. No. All right. So we've got first winner is Rachel from the Unrequired Reading podcast, who discovered us recently. Thank you for listening. And our second winner is Daniel on Twitter. He is at TI30612, and he's been a long-time listener, and he's also in the Tashi Station Patreon Slack. Bless him for listening to us scream about Kylex all the time.
Right.
But that's exciting. So congratulations, you two. We will contact you after this episode comes out and get your info and zip it over to Tom so he can stick your stuff in the mail, or some sad intern can stick your stuff in the mail. I don't know what you do over there.
I mean, the cats
cat
don't know how
interns,
to
yeah.
mail things.
Yeah.
So,
That's
no.
fair. That's fair.
You should get stamps.
We actually don't. We don't have interns. We
Oh.
do it. I mail everything, or I don't mail everything, but I mail all the stuff I have to mail.
Man.
Wow. I have depression,
I
so
don't
I've
do
like
that.
mailed one thing ever in almost 30 years.
Awesome.
Oh my
Sorry.
Well-
god. I mean, I can't say anything because I walk next door to like my poor assistant editor. I'm like, can you go down to the mailroom because I'm too lazy to go downstairs?
I can't do it.
Oh, that is so not what my job is. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna print 100 like copies of this thing now for our meeting. It's the worst.
No, it's
well-
no. This is why I live in fear of that poor guy Quinn.
Right.
Anyway.
Anyway,
I swear-
congratulations.
I swear I'm actually nice to this person. Anyway.
Congratulations, Rachel and Daniel. We hope you enjoy Canto Bite, and we hope you enjoyed listening. Before we go, Tom, I want to give you the opportunity to plug yourself on social media, any projects that you have coming up that you want people to know about.
I mean, just everything that's going on at Del Rey, whether it's Star Wars related stuff with Blizzard, Magic. We've got some Stranger Things stuff coming up, including the first Stranger Things novels coming out in February. That's going to be amazing. And there's a ton of stuff on the Del Rey original side. If you guys are into anything science fiction, fantasy, there's all sorts of awesomeness. And then if anyone ever has questions or just wants to hear me ramble on or post pictures of the cat turns on Twitter, you can find me at Darth Internus, INTERNOUS. Yeah.
Awesome.
always be posting pictures of your cats. We love them so
Yeah.
much.
Please.
Even when they're being rude and just not respecting the fact that you have to work, and just really being layabouts sometimes. It's hard to find good help.
Oh, they are totally outs, but they keep me company.
That's true.
Lando's pretty much always sitting next to me while I'm writing. While I'm editing. He's just never helpful.
Baby.
That's fair. That's fair. I respect that.
It's okay. Hamlet's the same. Never
He is.
helping out with the podcast.
This is true.
Ever. Anyway.
Well, Tom, thank you so much. You have an open invitation to come back anytime you want. And for our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Book Wars Pod. Our next book, as we said last week, is going to be Thrawn Alliances by Tim Zahn, and we are going to start reading the beginning of the book through chapter 6. We are probably going to take a week off in between when you hear this and when we start Thrawn Alliances, just because of the holidays, but then we're trying to get back on a regular schedule, so hopefully you will have your regularly scheduled screaming about Star Wars in your ears going forward.
But y'all are hopefully doing a music episode that I have nothing to do with because I'm tone deaf, but
Yeah, it's fun. That's in the works.
Yeah.
It's in the works. That'll be something.
Either that or this will be 2 episodes, since Tom was extremely gracious with his time.
yes.
That's true. We'll figure it out. Either way, you'll have something in your ear holes. Anyway, in the meantime, while you're looking and waiting for that podcast, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr at BookWarsPod, bookwarspod@gmail.com if you want to email us. Rate, review, and subscribe to both us and the Tashi Station Radio mega feed. And as you just heard, that is not just something that you're doing for us, you're doing it for you, because there is plenty more stuff to win that we're giving away in the coming weeks.
Also Corgi pictures.
Also, Corgi Pictures. Well, speaking of Corgi Pictures, that happens if you donate to the Tashi Station Radio Patreon, or give to us on coffee, or give us coffee, ko-fi.com/bookwarspod. Really helps us cover our hosting and production costs. Again, we're trying to build up some funds to be able to have some swag to throw at random people at Star Wars Celebration Chicago. And every time you give us coffee, we will post a picture of Hamlet on the gram. So you will be the real winner there. Our theme song is Whiz Bang by Poddington Bear. Our logo and artwork are by Joe Butera Design. For Kate, Kristen, and Tom, I'm Chris. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. It's been a while since we had one of those. That was fun.
That
Thank
was
you so much,
amazing.
Tom.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was awesome.
Oh.